Okay, here we go. All right. Welcome back to the Comic Book Bullies, where nerd is the new bully. I'm your host, Leroy, with my co-hosts.
This is Eli the Barbarian. Fuck it, I don't know.
Yeah, that'll work. And like I said, we're back with another episode, and this is a special episode of Comic Book Bullies because this episode, we're not going to talk about anything else. We're not going to talk about bullshit like Red Hood #5 or Unbeatable Squirrel Girl #13.
10 years in the making.
10 years, longer than that, really. But we're just going to say 10 years in the making, even though some of us have been almost waiting pretty much our entire lives waiting for this moment, you know. And it's finally here. We get a chance to talk about, Infinity War. And not only we get a chance to talk about Infinity War, because like I said, we got a chance to wait around and let it breathe a little bit, let it circulate between, social media and the internet. And we get to talk about reactions about it also. So we're going to just deep dive into this movie. We are going to give you non-spoilers first, and then we're going to dig deep into the spoiler section also. But before then, one reason we're waiting this long, because like I said, a lot of us got a chance to see it, but somebody didn't get a chance to see it. Sorry, I got to put you on the spot, Eli.
Yeah, I was didn't get a chance to see it till today. I didn't get the.
How dare you let your life get into watching a movie?
I know, man. I'm beating myself up about it. I almost went Thursday night. Like, there was a late showing after work. I thought about going, but the seats were shitty, So I didn't want to go sitting like way up in the front to the left hand side,
Gotcha.
Get my neck cranked the whole time. So I was like, I'll try to go like maybe tomorrow morning or something. I just didn't get a chance to. Baby mama went out of town. I had my daughter with special needs all weekend. She can't go to movie theaters. She freaks out at loud noises, so just wasn't able to go till today. So
it
got
happens
to see it for $6 though.
It
$6
happens,
before noon.
But let's think about this. Ryan Gomer saw the movie before you.
I know, man. I know. Ain't that some shit? He doesn't even see movies.
He doesn't even like these movies. He just... Oh man, but that, like I said, stuff happens. You can't get where you need to go with no problem. Got a chance to see it. I was gonna wait for you because honestly, I was kind of interested behind the reactions of the movies, and that's this topic onto itself that we are going to address. But before we get in there, like I said, this is the Comic Bullies. None of us actually read comics this week. We were bored. I was bored. Eli had a life, so we didn't do our jobs on that shit. What we can do is at least give you a brief synopsis on Thanos. Thanos, the character, and who he's supposed to be and what he is and all the stuff like this. So, Eli, let me ask you this. When is the first time you ever came in contact with Thanos, the Man Titan?
Probably the Silver Surfer run back in the early 90s, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was the lead up to Infinity Gauntlet. Now my brother it was because of my brother. I've told this before. I kind of stopped reading Marvel comics or superhero comics in general in high school because I was just kind of getting bored of the, superheroes. And I discovered Dark Horse and started reading Aliens and Predator and,
Sin
horror
City
comics. Sin City, yes. Heavy metal, boobies and shit. Cartoon boobs,
Right.
So X-Men was baby stuff, Holmes, But my brother, he was he had dyslexia and he had a hard time trying to read, like learning how to read, and comics helped him with that. So my mom would buy him a bunch of comics. So by default, I would just read whatever he was reading, and he was reading all the X-Men and all that shit, and he was reading that Silver Surfer, and I remember picking up an issue of Silver Surfer where Thanos was looking for the Infinity Gems. At the time I didn't know how big it was going to be, but I remember that. I remember the big purple guy. He looked like a big giant, demon skull dude and shit. I was like, this guy looks kind of cool, and and Silver Surfer. He's a cool character. So yeah, I didn't read Infinity Gauntlet at the time, not till later on, but I had no idea that was the lead up to what we have today.
Yeah. You know what? I was gonna tell my story of what I thought about Thanos, but your story was almost the exact same. Like, it was the same way. Like, I didn't know who I was reading Silver Surfer at the time because, like I said, it was the artist named Ron Lim. I was keeping up with him. He just had some awesome awesome artwork, so I was just keeping up with him the entire time. And I just saw this cool character named Thanos. I was like, okay, he's pretty cool. And then he was just, and Silver Surfer's supposed to be this most powerful dude in Marvel Comics, right? Yeah. Well, this book I read, Thanos just wiped the floor with him. I'm like, what the fuck? I wasn't expecting anything like that. I'm like, but Silver Surfer will be this guy. So if this guy can beat the hell out this guy and, send him flying into, Doctor Strange's mansion, and he wakes up all standing, Thanos is coming. I'm like, oh, crap. And then that's when Infinity Gauntlet came. Sorry about that. And I was like, oh, that's what it was leading up to. So, yeah, I was reading and had no idea that's what it was leading up to the exact same way. And it's funny how, your mom's, bought you and your brother comics. My mom knew I was in the comics and bought me a comic one time, and the comic she bought me was an Avengers comic. But this was the thing. Back then, you didn't want an Avengers comic. I'm like, why did you buy me this? I didn't tell my mom. I was like, she bought me the Avengers comic. This shit sucks. It's just funny, what you go from there to now. But yeah, so like I said, I didn't get a chance to read Infinity Gauntlet either. I read it like much later. But around the time, all my friends, my comic book friends that did read Infinity Gauntlet was like, Thanos is nuts. Thanos is insane. You got to read this. Thanos is killing everybody. And I wanted to read it, but I didn't get a chance to. So, but yeah, it's just funny that 20 years later or 30 years later, whenever that book came out, now the entire world is seeing what we knew, 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. It's funny to me that all these comic book movies are just popular like that, because my mom called me this morning and she asked me, do I want to go to the movies this weekend? And I'm like, and I think she wants to go see Infinity War. And it's just funny, like, didn't you tell me to quit reading this stuff when I was younger? Now you want to see the movie, but oh well, it's funny. So
yeah, and like I totally forgot about Thanos. Mm-hmm. Like when the first Avengers movie came out. Yeah. And I went and saw opening weekend, and I was with Izzy, one of my fellow Geek Sav hosts. Mm-hmm. I was with him, and again, it was like opening weekend, so we were sitting way up front and to the side. So I remember having to my neck crank, looking to the side up at this angular view of the screen the whole time. So when they revealed Thanos at the end, I was like, all I saw was the lines on the chin, mm-hmm. and I was like, who's that, a Skrull? And it was Izzy. He goes, or is that Thanos? I was like, holy shit, Thanos! Like, damn, I haven't heard that name in years, because I wasn't reading. I had stopped reading comics, Right. so it's like, oh damn, Thanos! Like, damn, is that Thanos? Like, holy shit! They're really going deep into the Marvel universe. That's right, what I was like. Wow.
Nobody was expecting it. Right. It was funny. Like when I saw that at the same time, when Thanos showed up, half the crowd lost their shit, and the other crowd had no idea who that was. So it was like a mixed reaction the entire time, when you can hear the date asking their nerdy ass boyfriend, who's that? But at the time, nobody knew, because we didn't know how to pronounce Thanos' name. So some people were saying Thanos, some people were saying Thanos, because we didn't know, so eventually they just decided to settle down to Thanos. So.
That was actually an episode of Geek Savs where we argued over it was Thanos or Thanos.
Right. See, that's only geeks know about that shit. Like everybody argued on what the name was, nobody knew. So yeah. So glad Kevin Feige finally sat down and set the record straight on what the name is going to be. So now if you say Thanos, even your mom will look at you crazy like, his name is not Thanos. What the fuck is wrong with you? So that being said, can we move into the next part of the podcast?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so for those that are familiar with the podcast, what we always love to do is we all like to talk about the box office numbers. We always give the weekend numbers, to keep you abreast on where Hollywood is going. And Eli, I'm going to give you one good guess on what was the number one movie this weekend.
Ooh, what do I win if I get it right?
You win a no prize.
Well, yeah, it's no surprise that fucking Infinity War is breaking all the records.
Right, it is breaking
even beat Star Wars, I hear.
It beat everybody. Yes, it is. It has broken the record. I know it broke the domestic. I think it broke both records, but domestic and worldwide. It is the highest grossing weekend of all time. It hit 257 million. So in one weekend, domestically, it has already outgrossed Justice League's entire domestic gross.
And this isn't even a holiday weekend.
This is not even a holiday weekend. I mean, well, you got Cinco de Mayo coming up,
Yeah, but nobody gets a day off of that shit.
Well, that's true. So that's true. Let's keep going down the list. Like I said, we got, of course, Infinity War #1. We're gonna come back to and talk about some more. 2, we're gonna talk about. Well, we're not gonna talk about it, but #2 was A Quiet Place. Like I said, the Jim from the Office movie. Yeah, it's hanging in. So somebody actually watched another movie. Who the hell would watch A Quiet Place when the Avengers coming out? Yes, 2 to A Quiet Place. Like the fuck. Anyway, #3, I Feel Pretty. Yeah.
Oh, is that the Amy Schumer comedy or something?
Yeah, that movie.
Okay.
#4, Rampage. I guess it's okay. Rock just really put this movie out at the wrong time. I don't think it's gonna be a flop, but it's not gonna be Jumanji. Jumanji was actually a legit runaway success, you know. #5, surprisingly, is Black Panther. So,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember Black Panther last week and the week before, they were like at #8 and #9.
Yeah, I think people were probably getting. Right now, I was like suggesting people who haven't seen Black Panther to see it before.
Right.
Infinity War.
So it's pretty interesting that he got a big bump like that. And matter of fact, I think it also beat Star Wars. I think it was The Last Jedi. Like it was right under The Last Jedi to take the spot. But this week, since it got the bump because of Infinity War, it finally overtook The Last Jedi to be the #9 spot. But when Infinity War came out, it's eventually going to be #10 spot again. But yeah, so I'm gonna look again and see how many Marvel movies are in the top 10 of all time. It's probably gonna be, weird looking at that. #6, Super Troopers 2. Didn't see it. Probably with Netflix or whatever. #7, Truth or Dare. Some horror movie, I guess. #8, Blockers. The what's his face movie. I'm not a wrestling fan. I don't know the guy's name. #9, Ready Player One. Steven Spielberg. Oh, good news about Ready Player One, Eli. I think that movie put Steven Spielberg over as the highest grossing director of all time.
Oh, well, yeah. He pretty much directed our childhood.
Right. But it's just weird that was the movie that did it, that put him over. So
yeah.
And
I guess not many people saw Lincoln, huh?
Right. Hey, I saw Lincoln Vampire Slayer, even though he didn't do that, but And #10 is Traffic. I have no idea what that is. I have no interest.
That's the Get Out, the black folk horror movie.
Traffic.
It's like another Get Out type flick.
Yeah, Traffic with a K. It kind of reminds me like one of those '90s hood movies. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, black people getting stalked by a crazy white folk movie again.
It'll probably be one of those movies that if it's good, we'll hear about it. Oh, you should see Traffic. Like when it's out on Fire Stick or some shit.
Well, there's that other movie with the hell's that chick's name? I can't remember her name, but she's a mom, and her family's getting stalked by like these like house invaders, and it seems it's like another it's looking like it's got the Get Out type of feel,
Okay.
I can't remember what it's called now. Shit, maybe next week.
Okay, maybe yeah. Who knows? Yeah. But like I said, let's go back to these numbers. Like I said, we have the official numbers of Avengers Infinity War as of Monday. Like I said, it is the highest grossing both domestic and worldwide weekend. Domestically, it grossed $257 million, which is insane even for a lifetime. Like movies in the entire run don't make that much money. And then worldwide, like I said, it's 640 also gross. But the funny thing is, it hasn't even opened in China or Russia yet. That's how insane this is. Because we know China's going to be like the second largest box office in there. When that hits, that's going to be insane. So yeah, it's a runaway success. And Eli, I'm tired of people. This is how you know that you got too many people watching a movie that don't read comics or know anything about comics. Because I've seen too many posts about people thanking Stan Lee for writing this movie. I'm like, that he didn't have anything to do with this movie or this comic. However, the person that is responsible for this, comic book wise, is Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin is the guy that that created Thanos. He created Drax the Destroyer. He created Gamora. He didn't create Adam Warlock, but he reinvented Adam Warlock to be the Adam Warlock everybody knows who he is, So he invented all these characters and basically wrote Infinity Gauntlet, and that's why we're getting this story, because it's based on what he did, and he went and saw the movie. He loved it. He praised Josh Brolin for the role. He said it was kind of surreal watching the character that he created with his own pen and pad, walking and talking and all stuff like that. And I can imagine that can be. I would imagine that would be like a surreal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad, even though he did get fired from Marvel, but yeah, that's another story. We'll talk about that next week when we talk about the comic book shit again, But now
the great Marvel business practice.
The great Marvel business practice. Fire the guy that just made you $1 billion, okay? Now we can actually talk about it because we're going to talk about the actual movie and we're going to talk about some reviews. And Eli, I'm going to let you unload because you saw this movie today, even though for everybody listening this will be tomorrow or yesterday or whatever. So I have no idea what you think about this movie. I haven't read any thought pieces or blogs or reviews from you. So I'm just going to let you just unload. Spoiler free. Just give it to us how you can.
Okay, spoiler free?
Spoiler free,
Okay, I liked it. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a lot of fun. I do have a few issues with it. But for the most part, I really liked watching all these characters from all these movies interact with each other. That was probably the most fun that the movie was. I mean, as dark as it was, this goes dark. And everyone's trying to say, oh, Empire Strikes Back and blah, 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 blah. This might be the closest thing to an Empire Strikes Back of the modern age. Sure, it took Marvel 10 years and 20 fucking movies, but but this is like the closest thing to an Empire Strikes Back or type of thing where it just left audiences like, what the fuck? I didn't go in spoiler free because I just waited a weekend. Just one weekend will ruin it, man.
Shit, like one day people were posting.
One day by Friday. Yeah, by Friday during the day, I was just seeing shit saying, oh, well, I think I know what happens now. Even those spoiler posts on like a comic book Illuminati was like, this is the spoiler post. Do not read, blah, blah, blah. This is full of spoilers. But there's always one comment available to be
when Batman dies,
oh shit, so and so dies, and well, why are they dying? They got a movie coming out next year. What the fuck? That's got to be a joke. So I'm thinking, some of the shit's probably, they're just fooling around and shit. Mm-hmm. But there was enough stuff basically released that I thought, okay, I think I know what's gonna happen. So. That being said, I still had a good time. I still liked seeing the outcome. The ending battle was awesome on Wakanda. I mean, if that's a spoiler, but we all seen it in the trailer anyway.
Right. Well, people were arguing with whether or not it was going to be the last scene in the movie or the last act, or whether it's the middle act. I was like, it's going to be the last act. Pay attention to how movies are structured. But.
Yeah. That was great. I mean, I loved all that, the line and the fucking charging across the battle, all that Braveheart shit, Lord of the Rings shit. I love that shit. I thought they just nailed it on that. So it was a good time. I had a good time. I had a few issues, which I will rip into later. One's a major issue, but I liked it. I mean, I've been following this shit for how long, I'm a fan of these movies, and I think this was just a good tribute to what they've been doing for the past 10 years, as far as this whole cinematic universe that they've created. This is a culmination of all of that, and I think they stuck the landing. So.
Okay. All right. Now you got to give a score. You got to give it a score.
I got 4 out of 5. I think there was enough issues in there for me to not give it quite the 5 out of 5, or higher, or 4.5. So, yeah, it's a 4 out of 5 for me. And that's not because some stuff got spoiled. That's just, no, there's some other stuff that are like, what the fuck? Really?
Right. Now, let me ask you, can you talk about that now without spoiling, without spoilers?
No.
Okay.
It's major plot stuff.
Gotcha. Let's put a pin in that. And we're going to come back to it because we're going to break down exactly what you don't like about it. And we'll talk about, other opportunities that we have. I'm going to give my review of it. Now, when I watched this movie, when I watched Infinity War, I watched it 2 ways. Like I said, I watched it one time and I watched it 2 ways. I watched it, one, as a longtime comic book fan that is a fan of this genre, fan of the MCU movies. I watched it from that lens. And at the same time, I did have to watch it through a movie critic eye also. Because, I mean, like I said, I'm a fan of both. I'm a fan of comics and I'm a fan of movies. And I understand that they're both mediums have their strengths and weaknesses, and some things work over here, some things work over there, but I have to look at both of them as separate mediums. So that's how I look at it. Now, as far as my comic side, I was loving this movie. I mean, like I said, it was some stuff that they did that were right out of things I read from the comics, stuff out of Infinity Gauntlet, stuff out of Infinity War, watching all these characters interact with each other. It was characters interacting with each other that I didn't even think that would interact with each other, that I was loving their interaction. Like, they could have just gave me just a movie of that and nothing else, and I would have just enjoyed myself the entire time, you know. But they kept throwing this stuff in there. What else was in the movie that I was loving? The humor was funny about it that I was like, I wasn't expecting to be humor. The movie was dark also, so it was dark and humorous. I was like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. And like I said, Thanos. Here's the thing about Thanos. Now, I remember, and Eli, we're gonna get an argument about this. I already know, so I'm just gonna say it. I know it's coming. Like I said, people last month, 2 months ago, people were saying, "Oh, Killmonger is the greatest MCU villain of all time. He's the best. There is nobody that can top him." That's fine and dandy, stuff like that. But I'm thinking to call Thanos the best MCU villain of all time is underselling him. I think he's one of the greatest movie villains of all time. I'm putting him up there. Joker, Heath Ledger, Vader, Agent Smith, Debo from Friday. I'm putting him up there. you know, I'm putting him in that list. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying he's the greatest movie villain of all time, but I'm saying he is in the conversation. One reason I can't put him too high, because like I said, this is the first movie we've seen him in, and I think there's more to his story than what we don't know. So that's why I'm saying that. So I think Thanos carried this movie. Everybody's interaction was really good in it. But this was the first movie that I felt Iron Man or Robert Downey Jr. was in it where he didn't just completely take over the movie. You know, I felt like he was just another cog in a piece where it just become his movie. Like even Spider-Man.
I would pretty much go on the record and say this Thanos was the main character.
That was, but I'm going to get to that in a second. Because I know that is the narrative that everybody's paying right now, and that's what the Russos trying to say, that it was Thanos' story. But let me go into the other side of it. Like I said, that was my comic book side. That was my nerd side. That was my geek side. Now, let me go into my movie side, my film geek side. Eli, personally, I think this is probably... Okay, let me go back. This was not a movie. This was not a real movie. This was not a film. And if it was a film, I feel like this is probably the shallowest movie that Marvel has made so far. I
can see that. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, let me back this up because there was no real theme or message or any way to take away from this movie. It was just, the movie just felt like it was selling itself on shock factor. You know, it was selling itself on what can we get social media talking about the next day, instead of actually being a movie. Like, what was this movie about? What's the movie trying to say? Who was the protagonist? You just said that Thanos was the main protagonist. The Russo said that. Kevin Feige said that. But I didn't feel like he was the protagonist. I felt like they were going that route, but I felt like it was too much they were juggling around that they couldn't really make him the main protagonist. And I feel like they did that, then we would have had more meat to the story or found out what was going on with them. But I felt like they were so invested in giving all of these characters so much, their own screen time or their own time in the moment or their own spotlight, that I think it did feel a little jumbled and cluttered a little bit. I think it were too many characters in this movie. That's just me.
Yeah.
But what can you do? How can?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I've written on Facebook about this movie is I called it the most comic book movie ever.
Me and Ryan talked about the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, in which it's just like, you needed to have seen the other movies previous to appreciate what this movie is.
Right.
Yeah, you can't go, like I said, my sister who's never seen an MCU movie, she would watch this and not know, and right away have questions.
Exactly, because this movie throws a lot of stuff at you.
Yeah,
my mom watched Black Panther and didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
So imagine this movie, right?
Yeah, this picks up like an issue of a comic book. Like, these movies are basically separate issues of a comic book. Mm-hmm. And this one just happens to end on a cliffhanger where we have to read the next one, Right.
And I think that's overwhelming movie fans. As comic fans, we're used to this stuff. We expect this stuff.
Yeah.
It's part of the medium,
Yeah.
So
That's how they sell comics, is by ending off on the cliffhanger. So you pick up that next issue.
Right, because they're just comic stories are just selling you chapters of another story. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, and this was set up in the same way, and it probably is shallow, and it probably is just monetizing the medium and just doing it for sales and just keeping this hype train going. Mm-hmm. But that's pretty much what a comic book is, and that's what Marvel has done. Like it or not, this is what Marvel does. They've kept they've made all these separate movies that act like different chapters of a long ongoing comic book. Graphic novel.
But I think at the same time, and that's why I said I looked at the movie two different ways, because I think this is everything a comic book fan wants from a movie. However, this is everything non-comic book fans hate about this medium, about this genre. Yeah. It's both at the same time, because like I said, it gives you everything you want. The movie to me just felt like a 3-hour action scene with, dialogue peppered in between just to kind of just give people a break or a breather, stuff like that. But like I said, if you're not into these movies, you just can't walk into it. And I think, me personally, I think that does hurt the movie, because I think some of the other movies, like the first Avengers movie, was a movie that you can just sit down and just watch and don't know anything about this. With this one, you can't. And because not only do they're cramming in 25 characters in this movie, that's on the poster, they're also introducing new elements. We have 3 new planets we've never seen before.
New abilities. Yeah.
New abilities that just popping up that's never seen before. So even if you know about this stuff, you're like, wait, what the fuck? Why is Vision human? They never explained that stuff before.
Yeah.
But you just kind of just roll with and just go with the stuff like that. And that's how I feel about it. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm gonna wrap this because I'm getting long-winded. I will say this, Eli, as far as like feelings and emotions that this movie gave me, I've never felt that before. I've only felt it once in a comic book movie before, and that was The Dark Knight, where I just felt like overwhelming emotion. The movie just got me. And at the end of the day, like, I can talk about story structure and plot and themes and movies and all stuff like that, but at the end of the day, how I rate a movie is how does it make me feel? And the movie gave me feels. It did. Yeah. It gave me everything I wanted.
Yeah, so even with even with the knowing, kind of having an idea of, and some of the spoilers that I heard, there was still some intense moments where my heart started racing, like, holy shit, hell no, oh hell no, like, where and I'll get into that in the spoiler section, but yeah, it was still an experience especially for a comic book fan. You could not help but just be enthralled by what you were seeing.
Right, because this was basically a comic book thrown on screen. It's the closest we've gotten so far.
It's the big event. It's what the Marvel event, the comic book event.
It's the comic book event, and the thing is, a lot of these crossover comics, just like these movies, they're shallow. This is like just throw a bunch of superheroes in there and just stand back and just let us collect money.
Yeah, because you can read like Secret Wars or No Surrender and get the basic storyline, but if you really want to get into all the details, you got to buy the 15 other books every month to find out what's happening. Crossovers and spin-offs.
And what does he really think? Yeah. Oh, the weird. I don't know. We can way off topic, but that was this crossover Infinity Gauntlet with Hulk, right? So Thanos did something where he shrunk Hulk into like the size of an ant. So what he did, so he was an ant. He saw Abomination, and he decided to crawl in Abomination's ear and pretend he was God. Like his conscience, he was like, you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. And Abomination started believing him, so he started just doing whatever Hulk said to do because he felt like he needed to get his life right, But it was a weird fucking story, but whatever. That has nothing to do with anything. We're just explaining. Anyway, score 5 out of 5.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as themes, I felt like there's a couple. I mean, talking about Thanos' motivations, the whole, balancing the universe thing and overpopulation or whatever.
You know what? Let's get into that. Let's get it, because that was actually going to be the next question I was talking about. Anyway, like I said, score 5 out of 5. Move on from there. Now, You said about Thanos' motivation. Now, let me ask you this, because Thanos' motivation is different in the movie than it was in the comic. And trust me, I heard a bunch of comic book fans belly aching.
And I'm so glad that it's not like the comics.
That is the dumbest shit in the world. First off, this is you got to remember in the comics it works. The reason it works in the comics, and folks don't know what Thanos' motivation in the comics is. Basically, Thanos is in love with death, and not the concept of death, like a physical embodiment of death that looks like, I guess, Rihanna, Halle Berry, some shit, like, I don't know, whatever, Beyonce. So he's in love with her, and of course, to impress death, he thinks the best way to impress her is to kill people. So the Infinity Gauntlet is the easiest way to kill people because he just snap his fingers, just kill everybody. So that's his motivation. Now, that works with 14-year-old boys, and that's it. You know, I'm friend zone. I want to impress this girl. Yes, if you're a 14-year-old boy, that impresses you. But for a modern audience that is older than 14, that shit's going to make Thanos look like a very, very weak villain that he wants to get out of the friend zone, and that's why he's trying to kill people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the whole overpower. I mean, I thought it was an okay motivation. I still didn't. I think there should have been a little bit more to it, or a little bit more history with other than his planet died, and that's why he decided to kill half the universe or whatever.
I agree that also, like, the motivation was weak. I feel like the motivation was weak, but the way Josh Brolin played it, it made me believe it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, he believes it, so it must be, Because the thing is, he could have used Infinity Gauntlet. If he says that finite resources, well, why don't you use Infinity Gauntlet to increase the resources?
Yeah, no shit. You can change reality.
Right. No. Let's just kill everybody. Make it easier.
Dick.
Right. It's kind of like in Man of Steel, like Zod. He was like Zod, why don't you just go to Mars? No, fuck that. I want to kill Earth,
Yeah.
So that's the shit for there. So it was kind of, so I'm glad they changed the motivation. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think there's more to Thanos' motivation than what they're giving us. They gave us in the first movie.
Yeah.
Because it was certain things he said, and like I said, when we're okay. Look, we're in the spoiler section now, guys. If you're listening, we're just gonna just deep dive into this shit now. So if you haven't watched this movie yet, what the fuck are you doing? Everybody and their mama has seen this movie already. So go see this movie and then come listen to us. But anyway, let's deep dive into this stuff. Now, remember when he was in that planet Voldemort, whatever, I don't know the name of that movie. But anyway, he was talking to Gamora, and he was saying, I let one chance slip away from him. I'm not going to let a chance slip away again. So what was he talking about?
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
He was referring to something, yeah.
He was referring to something. That's what I'm saying. It's more going on that we don't know about. Even the time when he was talking, like, he knows Stark's name, and Tony's asking him, excuse me, he's asking him, well, how you know my name? He's like, you're not the only one cursed with knowledge, Stark. Now, you could say maybe that has something to do with the Soul Stone or the Mind Stones like that, or maybe something else is going on.
Yeah. So,
like I said, I think there's going to be more. Well, I'm hoping there's more of Thanos' motivation explained in Infinity War, or whatever the next movie is called, because I do think his motivation was kind of flimsy, and he did come off like a religious fanatic. But hopefully they'll flesh out a little bit more in the next movie. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Another theme I felt that was in the movie was uncertainty. Right now, our social climate is very. There's a lot of anxiety in the air over what's happening in the world, and there's this feeling of unease and uncertainty. And I think this movie really tapped into that, where especially towards the end, we're like, holy shit, what's gonna fucking happen? We don't know. And then when the movie did this end, we're like, holy shit, where do we go from here? So I felt like that the movie tapped into our social anxieties as far as the state of things these days, which is, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but that's how I saw it, I guess.
Okay. I think there was, if there was a theme to this movie, I think this theme was probably just death, because that's what Thanos represents. Like I said, I think he's in Greek mythology. I think he's the something of death. I don't know, Thanatos or something. But I think that's basically what he is. Like, he represents the end. He represents death. And basically what they're trying to say is that even if you're a superhero, there are just some things you can't defeat, and death is one of them.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
change. I mean, death is also a
right.
Death represents change. You know,
Right.
It's
Only thing is, there's like
unfortunate.
two flip sides of it. Like, with there's death, there's life, and they were really trying to drive that home. You would have maybe had a birth or something being born or something, because there was absolutely, no bright side at the end of this movie. It was like, that's it and that's it. And I think that's another thing that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. That like that's it. That's the end. He's just gonna sit on a porch and stare at Baby Gamora. Okay, I guess. So, but here's the thing. Even though I think his motivations were weak, just the presence and the performance of Josh Brolin, that came through loud and clear. Because, like I said, when the first scene opened up and he was on the Asgard ship, and here's the thing: I came into the movie 5 minutes late. Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm thinking like, oh well, it's time. We're gonna watch some opening credits and stuff like that, and they're gonna we're coming in. Thanos is already killing people. We're like, wait, what the fuck? We missed that much already? So, and then the first thing I see Loki, and then the first thing I see is Loki saying, well, we have a Hulk. And, Hulk attacks stuff like that, and we all see how that went down, Now, let me ask you, Eli, like I said, you're my Hulk guy. You are the Hulk guy. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing mixed reaction with that. How do you feel Hulk and Banner were portrayed in this movie?
Yeah, that was one of my issues with the movie.
I knew it was. I knew it was. That's what I
said. The Hulk was very underwhelming in this movie.
Yeah.
Especially, it was frustrating. I mean, when he's like, no, I mean, why the fuck is the Hulk saying no? He wants to beat up everything. Like, he went after fucking Surtur at the end of Ragnarok.
Right.
Like, why the fuck is he saying no all of a sudden? That was bugging me. And the fact that he never showed up after that. We only saw him in the beginning where he gets his ass kicked.
Right. And
then he doesn't show up for the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like thinking, because there's the scene in the trailer where you see everybody running across the battlefield and you see the Hulk's part of that.
Misdirection.
Yeah. I was like, well, the Hulk's got to come back, right? I kept waiting for that. I was like, what the fuck, man? So, yeah, that was one of the things was like, okay. I'm getting a little pissed here.
I knew you were going to cut that. I knew comic book fans, like we just talked about comic book fans, but Eli, you're that guy when you just said that about the Hulk. You just became that guy.
Yeah.
You are what you hate. Okay, so here's how I feel about that. Now, that kind of bewildered me a second. Like, okay, Hulk's scared of this guy, like the Hulk? But at the same time, I got to think about it for a second. Now, the Hulk at his core, at what the Hulk is, and this is how Stan Lee and Peter David and all the guys wrote him. Hulk is a child. He's basically a 4-year-old, 3-year-old child. And he's Banner's rage bottled up, and Hulk is basically throwing a temper tantrum, but he's strong enough to throw a bus when he throws a temper tantrum. So he's going around beating up whatever he wants to, smashing whatever he wants to, and it's fun because nothing can hurt him and nothing can stop him. That's why he just can do that. But what happens when when this irresistible force moves into an unmovable object, which is Thanos? All of a sudden, everything becomes real to him. Everything's become mortal to him. He finally realizes fear because he's never had his ability tested. And it's just like a bad child. When you see a child throwing a tantrum, and I know this is 2018, I know we're being politically correct. When you whoop his ass, he sits his bad ass down. And it's kind of what Thanos did to Hulk. No,
I could dig that. Mm-hmm. It's just that the movie didn't have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. All of a sudden he just disappeared and was pouting. And like, what the hell? I was starting to think there's got to be something going on. There's something else to it, and just not getting that. I was like, I felt a little gypped, I guess.
I'm just saying, in the Marvel universe, basically that was the first time Hulk got his ass whooped, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. That's basically what happened. Mm-hmm. Like, getting his ass whooped is something that was so far beyond his mind, he didn't think it could happen. And it happened. Basically, Thanos psychologically got into his head. I can see it. I can see him getting into Banner's head. I know it's a stretch, but I mean, especially if you read comics as long as we have. But like I said, for the movie universe,
if we're going to comics, if you get the comics, I mean, the
that
more
shit would never
piss
happen.
off the Hulk,
that shit would never happen, right? Yeah. That's what I'm putting it to the side. Okay, that's over there. This is over here. I can separate them. But at the same time, that whole scene, it lets you know. And another reason I'm giving it a pass, because that whole scene lets you know instantly what and who Thanos is. and how he is. Because
Yeah.
not only does he whoop the Hulk's ass, it's the way he whooped the Hulk's ass. He was using, first of all, he was not only using brute force and just overpowering him, he was also using technique. He was using martial arts, and it lets you know, oh, because to use martial arts and techniques like that, that obviously lets you know that that character is skilled. You know, he's a thinker, he's a strategist, because you have to be a strategist to use martial arts. So, okay, he is not just some big dumb brute or some big dumb brawler. This guy is a tactician.
The Hulk's the brawler, then Thanos was the technical striker.
Exactly. Like
taking his shots.
Taking his shot. He was body, chest, head, ribs,
bobbing and weaving.
Dempsey roll. He's basically playing a drum solo with Hulk's rib cage, so it lets you know instantly, okay, this is the type of villain we are dealing with in this movie. And of course, they also turned Hulk into a jobber also. So that's another thing I had an issue with. But for the framing of the movie, I'll let it slide. So we have to let you know, okay, who's the biggest, baddest Avenger we have? Hulk, okay, whoop his ass. That lets you know the rest of the movie, what's going to happen to the other Avengers, Yeah. So, yeah. And like I said, it set the tone for Thanos, let you know what the other Avengers was going on. Now, moving past that, we talked about, character relations like that. Now, and interactions like that. So, which interactions did you enjoy the most out of all? Because it was a bunch of them,
Yeah, I surprisingly like the whole Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, and Spider-Man.
That's the one I was going with. Because I'm gonna say this. I feel like Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch are the best actors in these movies, in these franchises. Like, those guys are just, and I think they're a good bit ahead of everybody else. So putting them in the scene together, having to play off each other, it just, I can just watch that. Just give me that.
Yeah. And then just Peter Parker just in the background yipping and yapping his little quips and shit.
Right.
The whole I was just cracking up and shit. That whole, you remember that old movie again?
No more pop culture references from you for the rest of the trip.
And he said aliens. And I'm thinking, when he said that part, that was one of my favorite scenes. Like, when he says that old movie, Aliens. And I'm thinking, okay, Tony Stark is going to come out and say, "Get away from her, you bitch," or something. So I was like wondering, what about aliens or something? What are you referring to? But then they suck him out of the airlock or suck him out into space. And I was like, oh shit, okay.
So it made sense. My favorite line with Doctor Strange, like, I don't understand you guys' relationship. What is he, your ward? So I thought that was funny. But it was a missed opportunity. It was a missed opportunity. You have Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch in the same scene at the same time, and nobody says no shit Sherlock?
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Nobody says that? How did they not think of that? Come on. I was waiting for somebody to say it the entire time, and nobody ever said it, so I'm like,
Waka, waka, waka.
Like, what are you going to do,
And then when like Star-Lord finally showed up and they're talking about Footloose and shit.
Right. It's the greatest movie ever. It's really not.
It never was.
Which was another interaction that I liked in that movie, and one of my favorites, Star-Lord and Thor.
Yeah.
I was loving that because that interaction made sense. Because, like I said, you have Thor, who's basically like the alpha male in any room he walks into, and you have Star-Lord, who Peter Quill is basically a man-child, So, of course, he's going to get an inferiority complex when he sees this God-man in front of him, and like Drax just saying it, like, and he was saying, like, oh, yeah, we found this dude, and Drax like, no, you're a dude. This is a man.
This is a man, yeah. I thought he was going to say, I'm thinking he's going to say a god, but no, this is a man. And that was, there was so much funny. I mean, and a little tiny issue was, I think they went, like, basically every time they went for a joke, they just went for every joke they could go for.
Yeah.
And some of them stuck, and some of them it did have a feeling of Ragnarok a little bit, where they were just like, no joke was left untold. They were just constantly gonna go there. You know what I'm saying? And it got a little predictable at times, and and there were some very funny scenes, but a lot of them were like, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I gotta disagree with you. I gotta disagree with you on that one. It was not Ragnarok. I felt like the jokes weren't natural because Ragnarok, I think they told so many jokes that it altered the entire tone of the movie. And that's where that movie just went off kilter. Where this one, I feel like the jokes were natural. Even though there were a lot, I give you that, there were a lot in there. But I do feel like it came from a natural point, and I don't feel like the majority of them were forced. And especially towards the last hour of the movie, the joking, basically the further we went into the movie, the less jokes you heard.
Oh yeah.
And so
yeah, it's just like like the Guardians. I mean, just their interactions. You just know that they're always going to go for the humor base. They're always going to go for the quips and the humor, and it's kind of like South Park. Now I love South Park. I think it's funny as hell, but they're constantly going to take it down that route, and it can get a little exhausting at times. Like you're just constantly going to go there.
Right.
But that's what the show is, and it's funny regardless, but still it's like, okay, well, I knew they were going to go there, and I guess there's a little humor fatigue, I guess I got, with some of the scenes, but not that's just a minor thing.
Yeah, I mean,
it was still funny. I still laugh my ass.
They want to make sure it's not a DC movie. That's all, Last thing I'm going to say, the last thing I'm going to say about DC, I saw this meme of DC today, this picture where, where like the DC symbol was turning into dust and ashes, floating away. I was like, oh, shit, come on. That being said, we can move past that. Another interaction, just Thor and Rocket. I was loving that interaction. I didn't even know I wanted to see that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm loving this. And we needed that. We needed that too because the movie was like action. That was the only slow pace we had in the movie.
Yeah, and Rocket continues to be like one of my favorite characters. I had no idea that out of all these movies, he'd be
right.
the ones that makes me laugh. That I love. I love his character. I never read fucking Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
Ever.
It's just a funny character. It was just like especially how Star-Lord and Rocket play with each other. We've seen them play with each other because
Rabbit kept calling him Rabbit.
Oh, you know what? Let's talk about Thor for a second. Now, I think they I think this is the first movie that got Thor right. Like perfect. Like this is the Thor that I recognize from the comics because I felt like Ragnarok was a little bit too far this way, and I felt like the other Avengers movies and Thor movies were too far this way, but I felt like this movie finally got it right. Like, for instance, Thor felt like the strongest Avenger, which he's always supposed to be. Like, he felt like when he showed up, he was like, okay, I'm here to kick ass, point me who needs their ass kicked. When the other movies just felt like he was just kind of there and in there and kind of mixed around, but this one he was completely whooping ass. He was, commanding the screen because it felt like Chris Hemsworth is finally playing Thor the way he wants to play him, like confident, funny, but still powerful. So he was controlling the scene. I was loving that, and just the fact that he was the most powerful Avenger and he was just wiping out people, in the Wakandan battle and stuff like that.
Like when he got his groove back. Like when he came with the lightning.
Right.
That was dope. And he had the Stormbringer or whatever the fuck it was called.
Right. And you did see it that was Groot's arm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah, and they tell me about that. So that was pretty awesome too. So yeah, so they gave us some great interaction with that one. I'm trying to think, were there any other awesome interactions in the movie? Just those were pretty much the standouts, of the ones I've never seen before that really just jumped out at me. But yeah, what else we talk about? We talk about the Wakandan battle. We talk about shoot.
Should we talk about the ending?
We're gonna get there. We're gonna talk about the ending. It was something else I want to talk about. Before we get to the ending, let's talk about the Soul World. Let's talk about Voldemort and the character that showed up there.
Oh yeah, that was a humdinger. I was like, oh hey.
Yeah, that surprised me. For those who haven't seen the movie, spoiler, it's the Red Skull.
Yeah.
So like I said, we saw at the first Avenger that he got sucked in, the space stone sucked him into space, and we haven't seen him for 80 or 100 years or whatever it is like that, and he's just hanging out, just relaxing. Just he's a tour guide. That's what he's been doing for the last 80 years. So
chilling in a Doctor Doom outfit.
Right. And they showed him, and honestly, when I saw Red Skull, I'm like, okay, like It's not like he had any purpose to the plot. He was just there to be like, hey, it's me, you know. Because they could have replaced him with anybody.
I was in these movies too.
Right. They could have replaced him with anybody. It would have made no difference whatsoever, you know. But who cares? Red Skull is in there. I also find it funny how Gamora didn't realize what Thanos was about to do. Like, the entire audience knew what was about to happen.
Yeah, that was so predictable. I was
like, really? Like, you played your hand a little too much there, you know.
Yeah, and I'm like, how the fuck, that really? She just had to fall? Like, in all these other movies, she's like getting shot at and blown up and
right, like she's
off.
Jumped farther than that, right?
Yeah, like what? You're just gonna fall and die? Really? That's like. So yeah, I was like, really? That was another moment where I was like,
Yeah. Like he could have stabbed her or something, then threw her, but nah, he just threw her. Like she should have just landed on her feet, just jumped back up there, you know.
That when I was Man of Steel, like when Superman just broke Zod's neck, I'm like, really? You were smashing buildings and hitting him with trains and shit, and you're just gonna break his neck.
But
like,
that's his weakness, is this neck. Okay.
I was like, oh, okay.
You should have led with that. So that's the Soul World. Now we can talk about the ending. Let's talk about it. Let's dig into it, because like I said, the ending was a shock for everybody. One thing, Eli, I wasn't expecting Thanos to collect all the gemstones, the Infinity Stones, whatever, like that. I thought he was gonna get some of them and then save some for the next movie, but nah, this movie he collected all of them.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, this is what okay. Now this is what kind of got spoiled for me, and it wasn't, no one, they didn't really say who was gonna die or whatever happened. I just remember hearing somebody, like everybody online, saying, I can't believe it ended that way. What a fucked up ending. Oh my God, Avengers end so fucked up. And I'm like, okay, I think I know what happens. Mm-hmm. They're breaking up Infinity Gauntlet, the book Infinity Gauntlet, into two parts.
Yeah.
I was like, I know what happens now. He's going to get the stones and wipe out half the fucking universe. And that's when I'm like, I think I know what happens now, you know? Mm-hmm. So, I guess I expected that. And when they announced the Marvel, like back in the day, it's been 10 years now. Holy shit. We got to actually say back in the day on the Marvel.
Way back in 2008.
Yeah. Back in 2013, but whenever it was, when they announced the lineup of movies, mm-hmm. and it said it was supposed to be Infinity War Part 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. He'll get the stones. He'll wipe out half the universe. And the second part, they'll save it. Right. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then they announced a few years ago, oh, Infinity War is going to be one movie, and then the Avengers 4 is going to be another one. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, Thanos' story is going to be Infinity War, and then Avengers 4 is going to be like the new Avengers. It's, bunch of people are going to die, and they're going to bring on a new lineup and blah, blah, blah. So that's what I was thinking going up until this weekend, until everyone started talking shit, So that's where I'm like, okay, I kind of figured out, you put two and two together. And I was like, oh, I think I know what happens. This is going to end on a cliffhanger, and we're going to have to wait. It's going to be like Kill Bill, Yeah. Lord of the Rings, or, the Matrix movies when they were releasing them.
Right, when they did them back to back and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, So I was like, oh, okay, I think I know what happens now. Because everyone's like freaking out, and I'm like, oh, I get it, because that happens in the comics. He wipes out half the.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this, Eli. Because now we can talk about fan reaction. Like I said, we all saw the ending. We all know the ending. Half the Avengers die, whatever, like that. And you saw the internet reaction and the responses to the ending of that. Do you think the internet reaction or public reaction was justified?
I think for non-comic book fans, yes. For us, because remember I said a couple weeks ago when it's like we kind of know the story to Infinity War,
right?
Because we kind of know. We can speculate, and I'm sure they're going to change plot scenes, but we kind of know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we comic book fans who know the story aren't as shocked,
Right. We're not being hauled off in stretchers, we're not catching our breath,
I saw that meme and shit.
Right.
I was like, really? What the fuck?
Like, really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I guess for me, the surprising is who all the ones that actually did go. That was more
that
of the
was
surprise.
shocking. Yeah. It was shocking, but I didn't leave at the theater like, oh, because honestly, the people that did go, they made me like, okay, yeah, this ain't gonna stick, you know?
Yeah,
like,
especially Black Panther.
Black Panther,
like,
really, Black Panther.
You just had this cultural phenomenon a couple of months ago.
Right.
This great film that united a generation, and you're gonna kill his ass 2 months later. Like, really?
Right. Really? No, that's not gonna happen.
I mean, people were pissed off about Luke in The Last Jedi. And if you're not mad at that, then fuck off.
Right. Because I saw Black Panther die. I was like, well, okay, I didn't see that coming. But
yeah, I was like,
but
okay,
I thought about it for a second. I thought about like, could that happen? But then when they killed Spider-Man, I'm like, okay, yeah, none of this shit is gonna happen.
Yeah, he's got a movie coming out. Like the Guardians 3 is coming out.
They've already announced Guardians 3, right? So
I was like, okay, yeah, this is some Doctor. Haven't you seen a Doctor Who episode? They're just gonna restart everything.
Exactly, just reboot everything, bring everybody back, and just like they did in the comics.
Yeah,
they did the same thing in the comics. Thanos killed off half the universe. Spoilers for the next movie coming out next year if everybody haven't seen it. Because us nerdy ass dudes have already read the comic. We've done our homework, you know. Basically what happens, Thanos wiped the universe, everybody's dead. They get the gauntlet back. They take everything back the way it was. Everybody's fine. And that's what's going to happen here.
This is comic books, man.
This is comic books. Nobody died. Now, Idris Elba, he's gone.
Oh yeah,
he's done.
Hey,
he's at this franchise. He's done.
Should I be offended? Should we be offended that the first guy killed in the movie was a black guy?
Well, see, now I am, because I remember I missed the first 5 minutes.
Like, really, Marvel? I thought you guys were woke. I thought Marvel was supposed to be woke and
Marvel's
shit.
supposed to be woke and they do this shit. They kill off the first. They kill off Idris Elba and they kill off Black Panther.
Yeah, they get all this kudos for making a Black Panther movie, and then the very next movie they do,
your services are no longer required.
Guess what we're gonna do? That what stereotypical trope?
Black Panther 2 will have a white dude in it. Everett Ross, Martin Freeman will be the new Black Panther.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's weird. But people were freaking out over this, and the reason I think people are freaking out over this because now, and this is another knock on this movie that I had because I think they did rely on sci-fi too much. Now, Eli, you're a fan of Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and whatever the fuck these movies shows are. I don't watch that shit. I don't understand that shit. But it seems like to me, those TV shows have created a culture where people just watch them to see who's going to be the first one to get axed next, who's going to be the first one to die. You know, oh, that person died. You got to watch this episode, The Red Wedding, blah, 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 whatever like that. And they're thinking, or even expecting Marvel to do the same thing. You know, they're just going to kill off people and nobody's going to...
I felt a bit... I felt that they were doing that a bit too. Like this is just to get people talking.
Right.
This is just to get people hooking people into the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I wasn't as like, oh my god, you know.
Right.
I thought some of it, you know, I will admit, seeing Peter Parker, you know, scared shitless as he was fading away.
Let me talk about that. Let me talk about that one, because the thing about the Peter Parker scene, even though I knew this shit was going to be unraveled, that shit still hit me. That's the weird fucking part. That shit still hit me because here's this theory online that people are saying. They're saying before it even hit him, his spider senses kicked in. Because every other person that died, they didn't know they were dying. They were just like, it just hit them all of a sudden. They just realized, no. But for some reason, Peter Parker knew way ahead of time. I'm not feeling good. I don't feel right. He started crying before he even faded away. So they're saying his spider senses kicked in and he knew he was going to die.
Okay. Well, that makes that more like 10 times more depressing.
Exactly, right.
Because I was like, I'm just sitting there, really? I just saw Luke Skywalker die and Han Solo die a year ago. Now I gotta watch
Spider-Man die. And it's
like, what the fuck?
And it hurts, man, because okay, he's hugging Tony Stark. Tony Stark is the closest thing he has to a father. And for Tony Stark, Peter Parker.
Dude, you're just making it worse now, man.
I am, man. But that's why that shit hit me. I'm like, I know this shit's gonna be undone, man. But damn, he's hugging the closest thing he has to a son. Especially at the beginning of the movie, he was talking about, his potential future son. I was like, man, that shit was depressing. Like, I know it's gonna be undone like that, but and especially when he acted, that shit was depressing right there. So, yeah. So, like I said, but as far as people freaking out, and here's another thing. I think next year, what Marvel did this year for this movie is going to bite him in the ass next year.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to bite him in the ass hard.
That's why I keep bringing back, everyone pissed off at The Last Jedi for trying new things and new directions and shit. And this movie is really not doing anything. It's just shocking us, and then it's going to, pull the rug from under us and go, psych. And
we've seen this before, Eli. We've seen this hard as comic book fans. Yeah. Superman.
Yeah.
Death of Superman. They tried to build it up like Doomsday was really going to kill Superman. Like, it's done. He's out of here. You're never going to see him again. So everybody was depressed. We mourned. You had national news coverage. People doing parades, and everybody was sad. Year later, they brought him back. What happened? The entire comic book industry collapsed. Because people were done buying this stuff, because they felt like they were betrayed, they were cheated, out of a moment. And they're going to do the same thing with this movie. I see it coming. Will Marvel care? Probably not. They're going to make $2 billion this movie, so who cares if they piss everybody off, So, I don't know. That's how I feel about this one. We got Black Panther, we got Spider-Man. Anybody else shocked you? Anything like that?
Not really. I did notice that the people that are still alive are the original Avengers lineup.
For the most part, yeah.
I was shocked that Stark didn't die. Like, I thought he was him and at least Cap. Like, when Cap is sitting on the ground, I thought he was about to fade away too. And I'm like, wait a second. You have Cap, you have Thor, you have fucking Black Widow, you got Stark, and Hawkeye, wherever the fuck he is. That's the original MCU crew.
But there's one more guy that shocked the hell out of me.
What's that?
War Machine.
Oh.
How the fuck did Don Cheadle live through this movie? That shocked me more than anything. I'm like, did Thanos just forget about him? Like,
you know who I was shocked to see go?
Who?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, I was shocked to see go. Now let's talk about Doctor Strange for a second.
Yeah.
Remember that he said, and a lot of people are confused about this, like, why did he give Thanos a time stone? And like, if you paid attention to the movie, it made complete sense. Yes, he said on a spaceship, he was like, if you are in trouble or the kid's in trouble, I don't care. I'm going to put this time stone over you. But he also said he saw 14 million scenarios where they lost every time except one. He gave him the stone because that was a scenario he saw where they won. Yeah. Or at least they didn't get completely wiped out,
Yeah, this is the only way. But I thought he was going to make it.
Right, because he was putting up a fight with Thanos.
Because Star-Lord went too, right?
All the Guardians went except Rocket.
Except Rocket.
Yep, he's the only one left.
We've been discussing that the Guardians have pretty much replaced the Fantastic Four. In these movies.
Right.
They are the Fantastic Four's, purpose. We've established that Star-Lord is part super planet or whatever the fuck.
Right.
Now you have him, you had Doctor Strange and Black Panther. They all went. I mean, wherever they went to, I don't know if they're going to put them somewhere. They're in some other negative zone type realm. But you think this is going to lead to the Illuminati? Because aren't they in the Illuminati?
They are in the Illuminati. Okay. You got Doctor Strange. Yep. Black Panther. Yep. Who else did you say? You said
I said Star-Lord, but he could be because Reed Richards was in the Illuminati.
He's too dumb to be and stuff.
I'm just saying, but he's got the superpower. He's part planet or whatever.
Yeah, part planet. Yeah. So,
I guess who else is in it? Beast and Stark, but Stark survived.
Stark survived in it. So I think it's like what you said. They just wanted to just streamline it to be the regular Avengers, plus some other dudes like Rocket, because basically all the Guardians except Rocket and War Machine for some reason. Who else lived? I think that's it. The original Avengers and those two.
Yeah.
Which is
like Okoye, and like M'Baku was still alive, right?
Well, we don't know about M'Baku.
I thought he was watching everybody fade, and he didn't.
Did he?
Fade.
I don't know if he did or not. Maybe he did, and Okoye lived, because that's the shocking. I thought she was the one that was fading away.
Yeah.
And then I saw Black Panther, like, oh, okay.
And Shuri's still alive, right?
They didn't show her, so we don't know. More than likely, probably so, but they didn't show her afterwards, so.
Yeah.
And so we don't know. But if she is still alive, like I said, Vision is dead, but Vision's a robot. How many times has he been blown up in the comic books? Yeah. Yeah, that's nothing. So basically, some of these deaths, they can just write this shit off. Vision will be back. Gamora will be back.
Yeah. Banner's still there. Yeah, Banner's still there.
Yeah, so he got to have his arc where Hulk is gonna Hulk out at the last minute or some shit, So I think Gamora is stuck in the Soul Stone. I think that's what happened.
That's what I was wondering. Because I've been seeing all these theories people were having online. Oh, the Soul Stone is here, or the Soul Stone's in Tony's chest, or the Soul Stone's here. And that's another thing. This movie reminded me of Last Jedi as far as it kind of threw away everybody's theories. Right.
Here's one thing I've learned about
everyone was thinking, oh, Cap is going to die. Tony Stark's going to die. No.
Right. Even though they've already publicly said their schedule, for Infinity War 4. So why would they think they would die this movie when they already said they're going to be in the next movie? That's one thing I've learned about fan theories. 99.9% of them are not true. Fans have no idea what the fuck they're talking about in these movies. Yeah. Like they're saying, oh no, but they didn't die. They're in the Soul Stone. No, they're not. They're dead. They'll find a way to figure, but they're not going to be like, oh, they're in the Soul Stone, they're trapped, they're just going to free them. No, it's not going to be that simple. But Gamora is. Matter of fact, every time Thanos steps in little Gamora, I think that's what he was seeing. He was seeing Gamora, but the way he recognizes her. So I think that's her talking to him. So they're both in the story. And that's from the comics also. She was trapped in the soul world also, and like Adam Warlock got her out or something like that. Like Thanos killed her, some shit, whatever, So that's straight from the comics too. So yeah, she'll be back, and she'll be in Guardians 3. So only deaths that are going to stick that I know for sure is going to be Idris Elba and Tom Hiddleston, I hope. Because they have ran Loki into the ground in these movies. There's nothing else they can do with him. They went from taking him to actually a cool ass badass villain to like the cool guy, the anti-hero in this movie. Then I'm like, if that's the route you're gonna go with Loki, just get rid of him, just kill him.
Yeah.
And I like how Thanos almost looked into the screen and said, "Oh, don't worry, no, he's dead this time. Trust me, he's dead." Oh shit. Damn, we ran through a lot of topics. Anything else we gotta address with this movie or?
I'm trying to think. I think we got it. I mean, shit. Not much. I mean, shit. Else I got really.
I got nothing.
Addressed everything.
I actually took notes in this movie this time. I mean, this review this time, and everything we talked about, I've hit. So, like I said, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Eli gave it a 4 out of 5. So let's just say we gave it a 4.5 out of 5 and call it a day. 9 out of 10. Yeah. That's how we rated it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's still. I mean, like I said, I'm a fan. You're a fan.
Mm-hmm. Like we wouldn't be doing this podcast if we weren't fans,
Yeah, because I mean, shit. I mean, the second rise in geek culture, I think, can be accredited because of the MCU.
Right.
Because we had the early 2000s with the Spider-Man movies and the X-Men movies, and you kind of had a little blow up in comic book culture. You had the heroes on TV, and a little bit, but it kind of waned. And then you had the Dark Knight movies, and the MCU kind of reinvigorate. Now geek culture is huge. Now it's so in vogue right now.
Everybody's doing. You got girls that never. And the funny thing is, you got people that are fans of these things that have never touched a comic.
Yeah.
And will never touch a comic. Never plan to touch one.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's because of the Dark Knight and the MCU, the first Iron Man movie, which led. Then after the Avengers, it blew up. I mean, you had Walking Dead, on TV. You got all these comic book shows on TV.
On Netflix and
and it's just I'll fuck it. Got to give credit to the MCU, man. They did something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, I mean, like not even just comic wise, but just movie wise, we've never seen this before. That's why I give them credit for the fact they even pull this off.
Yeah, and this movie is a total tribute to what they've done.
Right, because the thing is, Infinity War, like we just talked about, comic like movie audience fans. they wouldn't have been ready for this movie back in 2013 or 2012 because it's too comic booky. You had to ease them into this, but they've been planting the seeds, let you know, okay, this is where we're going with this. So when you're prepared for this, back in 2012, we barely were prepared for Avengers. And that was only 6 guys. This is 20 something, 30 something, So applaud Marvel. I'm gonna go see the movie again. I'm gonna get probably a different perspective on it. And like I said, I looked at it this time, but every time I watch the movie a second time, I look for different things I didn't see again. So, and honestly, I couldn't even get into the movie because the movie was sold out, everywhere. So I had to wait till tomorrow to see it. So. And so, that being said, like I said, we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. If you got any questions, things about that, tag us in it, talk to us. Let's start discussion, because I know this will not be the last time we talk about Infinity War. I know that for a fact. This is going to be an ongoing discussion because more things are going to start popping up from there. That being said, if you like this podcast, you listen to it the whole way through, like, share, and subscribe. Definitely share it on your page. Definitely give us a review. We don't have any reviews and no shit like that. We're slowly coming to issue review podcast episode 50, where we're gonna do something special, but I don't know what it is. Also, I want to dedicate this episode to Jackson's very own Lil Lonnie. He passed away yesterday. It's a tragic event. Definitely look him on the news and find out more information about him, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. Like I said, we were talking about other stuff when we were having a good time. Eli, anything else you got?
I think we got it, man. I think we opened the floodgates on this movie.
Yeah, we did. Like I said, the whole podcast just one by one thing, and that's it. So until next time, this is Leroy.
This is Eli.
And we will talk to you guys next week. Same bully time, same bully channel. Cool. All right, let me go ahead and.
I got an hour and 15, but then I didn't start for at least 3 or 4 minutes. So it's probably around an hour and 10 that